Jack Thompson's world changed again on that cold November morning. As the unmarried man, Jack was accustomed to rising early. Jack, the father of a sassy 7-year-old girl named Maddie, lived a chaotic and lonely life in a small Oregon town, filled with packing lunchboxes and battling endless cereal spills. He had kept his heart under lock and key since his wife died of cancer 2 years earlier, believing he had experienced all of life's love and sorrow. However, on his usual route to Mattier's school that morning, Jack noticed a van on the side of the road with a broken-down engine. Inside, a frail, pale, clearly distressed woman was sitting inside, clutching the steering wheel as if it were her only means of communication. 2 small children, no older than Maddie, sat quietly, their eyes wide and exhausted. Jack pulled over without a second thought, asking, "Are you okay, ma'am?" When he softly knocked on the glass pane to ask, she looked up in surprise and fell on her side. Jack sat in the lobby of the hospital. 3 hours later, Maddie was coloring next to him while the physicians attended to Anna, Ben, and Lucy. Her kids were too quiet for their age to be snuggled next to a nurse. And the sobering diagnosis was pneumonia, acute malnutrition, and chronic weariness. She hadn't eaten in a long time. When Jack learned that Anna had recently been divorced, had been evicted, and had been living out of her van for weeks while looking for work, he told the nurse that he couldn't leave them just yet. He brought Ben and Lucy home that evening, put them together using Maddie's extra blankets, split the last of his spaghetti, and worked until midnight assembling old toys. Though not much, but it was warm and safe. When Anna woke up 2 days later, she asked, "Why?" with tears in her eyes. "You don't even know who I am." Jack grinned. "You seem to be in desperate need of a break. I've been there before." As the weeks passed, Anna gradually recovered. Jack helped her get government assistance, took her to job interviews, and even taught Ben how to ride a bicycle. When Christmas Eve arrived, the kind of early snow that silenced the world had fallen. When Jack got home from his shift at the firehouse, his living room was glowing with handmade paper star garlands and a tree proudly positioned in the corner while the kids decorated cookies. Maddie, who had previously asked at night if her mother was still in the stars, started to laugh again, especially when Anna read bedtime stories in silly voices. However, Jack erected a wall. Maddie hurried over to him and grasped his hand as Anna, who was covered in flowers, sang in the kitchen. "Daddy!" "Anna says you saved her, but she also saved us, don't you think?" When Jack's heart broke completely, Anna gave him a wrapped box that night after the kids had gone to bed. Inside was a simple photo that Maddie had taken of the 5 of them laughing in the park, the kind of genuine joy you don't realize you don't have until it's on camera. Anna had written, "Not only did you save me, but you also saved yourself. We are grateful that you gave us another chance. Do the same for us for you," on the back. The little house on Maple Lane gradually changed as spring gave way to summer. What was once a peaceful place held together by habit and grief became a haven of laughter, mismatched furniture, and the roar of children rushing down the halls. Jack didn't say anything. He just drew her closer. 2 years later, Jack was cheering as he stood on the church steps with Anna, now his wife, while their blended family cheered. He had started with a simple act of kindness with no hope or compensation, but he received 10 times what he gave. There were still tough days when Anna would sometimes wake up in the middle of the night from the weight of her previous nightmares. Jack understood this on the porch and would sit next to her and watch the stars in silence, putting his hand around hers to reassure her that she wasn't alone any longer. He also noticed that he was smiling a lot, usually for no apparent reason, and the kitchen always smelled like something was baking. Ben gave Jack the nickname. One day, out of habit, it came out during breakfast. "Could I please have more juice, Dad?" Jack halted, even though his throat was constricted, and he poured the liquid. They remained silent, but that one moment fixed something permanently. Once quiet and apprehensive, Lucy became Maddie's shadow. The two girls played dress-up, built forts, and even got sent to time out together for painting on the bathroom wall. Lucy shrugged and said, "We wanted to leave a message." "We love this house," was written in shaky pink marker on the sign that Jack had left there when he asked why they had done it. One day, while driving home from the grocery store, Jack noticed their old shortcut and stopped without giving it any thought. There was no sign of the moment that had changed everything in the area, but he felt its full weight while standing there. What if he hadn't stopped? What would have happened if he had driven by? He knelt in the grass and whispered, "Thank you," and rubbed his fingers across the cool ground. Shortly after, the town's community center started a Helping Hands program for struggling families. Its first volunteers were Jack and Anna, who understood what it was like to fall between the cracks. Not because they had extra time, they discreetly paid their past-due bills, organized food drives, and visited shelters. As word got out, people started showing up to help. One of them remarked, "I didn't think anyone cared anymore." A man who had just lost his job and home. Jack smiled. "I used to believe that their family developed over time not only in love but also in purpose. They didn't have a lot of money, but there were plenty of opportunities in their home." Their doors were visited by teenagers who had been raised in foster care, single mothers who were between jobs, and veterans in need of a place to stay. According to my dad, you can't fix the world, but you can fix one corner of it. Maddie, who is now 10 years old, once told her, Jack and Anna would still watch the stars on that porch, hands clasped, years later when the children were grown and the house had a few more dents and a lot more stories. Their life was not perfect, but it was honest, full of scars, grace, and the quiet beauty of choosing love every day. Because you don't always need to search for miracles. On a clear evening in early autumn, when golden leaves were falling from the trees like confetti, Anna discovered a letter in the mailbox with no return address. The writing was shaky, but it was familiar. A brief note from an old neighbor from the apartment complex where she had been evicted years earlier, and it was included in your story that appeared in the local newspaper. "I've always wondered where you and the kids went back then, and I was too scared to help. But seeing what you have done gives me hope. And I appreciate you demonstrating to me that it is never too late to care." Anna gave it to Jack quietly after reading it 3 times with her hand trembling a little. Jack then folded it carefully and placed it in the wooden box in the hallway where they kept valuables. By that time, their story had subtly spread outside of town, and a local journalist had written a piece about Jack's generosity and how it had developed into something greater than they could have ever imagined. Donations, personal accounts, and questions about how they could help started to come in from other towns and even countries, and Jack never quite knew how to react to them all. He would tell them that I didn't do anything special. He stopped the truck just now. He knew he was wrong, though, because the truck hadn't just stopped for him. He had halted and observed someone despite the fact that the world had made that woman feel invisible. He had shown that you were matter, and 5 lives had been rewritten by that one small action, and now it was subtly rewriting others. Jack would occasionally reminisce about that chilly morning long after the kids had gone to bed and the world had quieted down when he pulled over. He had no idea that he had met the woman who would become his life partner. He had no idea that Maddie would have siblings that his grief would be able to heal, or that one day the voices of people seeking shelter would fill his home. He only knew someone required assistance that was sufficient. "You saved me before I could save myself," Anna once said to him, and Jack had simply responded, "You gave me a reason to continue." They discovered together that kindness not only changed other people, but also made the person who gave it better. It transformed pain into purpose and strangers into family, slowly, gently, and quietly. They never had a fancy house. The fridge door squeaked no matter how many times Jack tried to fix it, and the couch was always stained with juice. But love was everywhere in the crayon drawings that were taped to the fridge and the extra dinner plates that were always ready to be filled.